Hey everybody. Today we're going to be looking at one of the audio tools I use all the time when I'm doing videos. Now, one of the things that always drives me crazy is when the audio doesn't sound up to snuff. I always kick myself when I don't use the right mic or the right setup, and it always bugs me when there's just not quite enough isolation and you get too much bleed and things just kind of sound lousy. So in this video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you one of the tools that I use to get the best sounding audio I can. Now, this is a paid tool and this is not a sponsored video, so I just want to make sure that I'm showing you this because I think it is such a powerful tool and can do so much to improve the quality of your video. So recently I recorded a video about my home studio setup, but because I was walking around the room and I didn't really have a good lapel mic, I was going ahead and just using the camera audio. It was kind of noisy and a lot of mechanical things going on, so this is what the audio sounded like. Hey everybody, and welcome to my home creator's studio. You can hear there's a ton of hiss in the background from moving air, a lot of nasty reflections, and things are just not sounding that good. So the tool I typically reach for when my audio source is really bad, especially when I'm talking about dialogue, is this tool here called dxRevive by Accentize. Now, this comes in two versions, and I do own both. It has the lower cost kind of consumer one as well as the pro version. I will say that the standard version works amazing, and it frankly was working so well. I wasn't even aware there was a pro version at first, and so I was using it happy as a clam till I found their website and thought to myself, wow, there's a better version? So the way this works is it goes in and it takes the dialogue in your audio. It removes things from the audio like background noises, room reverb, and things, and then it puts on an algorithm-based EQ that brings up the speech patterns to really make it sound better in all ways. So if we pull up the plugin menu for dxRevive, you'll see we're met with a simple interface, but it also gives us the opportunity to see what the algorithm is doing when it's fixing our audio. Now you can see in the studio versions, it's suppressing noise, reverb, and artifacts, and it's restoring an EQ balance, low frequency, and high frequencies. Basically, it's making it sound like it was mixed and mastered in a recording studio. You have this one for retain, which this one is trying to just very simply keep the audio the way it was, but remove some ugly noise from the background. You have natural, which is just simply trying to put the audio back so it sounds like it was just simply a camera in the middle of the room and the audio has not been treated. And then finally, you have the EQ restore, which is very simply just trying to take the audio and make it feel like it has been cleaned up a little bit and we've gotten rid of any digital artifacts and done a light amount of EQ restore. Now, in the lower cost version, Studio 2 and Studio are the only two available, but here in the Pro version, you can see we have this Studio 3, as well as the Retain, Naturals, and the EQ Restore. Beyond that, in the Pro version, we have the ability to set frequency ranges for how much we would like to affect a certain frequency band in our audio, as well as how much we want the tool to affect it. And then we have the knob here that amounts the total amount for all of our frequencies. And in the free version, all you're going to get is just the simple knob in the middle because it's going to apply the effect across all of your audio source. And then finally, we have a simple input and output knob. So if you need to bring down the level coming in or you want to boost the audio a little bit on the way out, you can do it right here. So typically, the first thing I do when I take a video is I actually open the video in Adobe Audition so I can just edit the audio. Now, this will mean that I'll end up with an audio file separate of my video file, but I think using these live plugins in like Final Cut Pro can cause some weird stability issues because it's constantly changing the audio as you're moving things. So as you're adjusting things, it has to re-render things, which is just a huge pain. So I like to do this step first before I take it into Final Cut to edit the video. So you can see here, I've got my movie file loaded up in Adobe Audition, and I can test the playback to see how it's sounding right now. My Dorico and music setup here on my desk. Again, it's not sounding great, and you can hear the background noise is so big. The first thing I want to do here is I want to go in and I want to try the basic version of this plugin. So in Adobe Audition, you're going to go up under Effects, and I'm going to go under my audio units, and I'm going to Accentize, and then I'm going to go to this dxRevive. Now this is the standard version. So we have a couple of options here. One, we can choose the algorithm that it's going to use to apply to our voice. Now, this is not just the algorithm as in how it's going to remove background noise, it's also kind of the EQ settings it's going to give to our voice. In this version, we have two options, Studio and Studio 2. Then we have this big knob right here in the middle, which is how much reduction it's going to do and how much aid it's going to give to our voice. And then finally, we have two basic controls over here, which is how much gain we want to do on the input stage and how much output we want to do. I typically leave the input alone, but sometimes I'll actually use the output to go ahead and add a couple of dB if I'm working on a lower quality sound source. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like when we play the audio, and I'm going to go ahead and set this at 50% to just see what happens. I had a lot of questions recently about how I've been doing it, my Dorico and music setup here on my desk, and just all the things I've been using to get my videos going. So I want to show you, so you can hear with one click and just 50%, the audio sounds 1,000 times better. And it's a really, really powerful tool because it is so simple and it's so effective. We can also dial in the amount, so if we're thinking it's not quite what we're looking for, we can turn it up and down to see if we want more or less. So what I want to show you today is an ultimate home studio setup if you don't have all the room in the world and maybe not the biggest budget. So here we go with my Creator Studio. Now you can hear, because it was a pretty noisy background, as I go way high in the app, it tends to make it sound a little bit mechanical and distorted. So I'm not really into that one. We can also try the other setting, the studio, to see if that is as good or better. Hey everybody, and welcome to my home Creator Studio. I had a lot of questions recently about how I've been doing it, my Dorico and music setup here on my desk. Now, this one to me sounds a little bit plasticky, so I think if it were me, I would go ahead and put it in there on the Studio 2 setting, and then around about 50%, I think sounded pretty darn good to my ear. Now, you can't always fix everything and make it absolutely perfect, but it went from absolutely unusable to actually really pretty darn good. So let's take a look at the Pro version of the software. So again, I'm going to go under Effects and my audio units, and under Accentize, I'm going to go to the dxRevive Pro. Now in the Pro version, it gives us a couple of features that are a little bit different. The first thing it does is it allows us to put in these filters where we can choose how much we want to apply the plugin to which range of the frequencies we have. Now, if I hit play, you will see how much low frequency rumble we had in the recording. This grayed out box here represents the background noise, and this line down here is where Accentize would like to put the audio. So because there is so much low-end rumble, that's why I put in a little bit more reduction for the low frequencies. And then for my mids here, I put it about 52%. And then on my high frequencies, because I wasn't having nearly as many problems, I only have that at about 12%. And this means that I'm getting a more balanced mixture of the plugin. Now, our choice in the middle here will actually take all of these settings and proportionately raise and lower them. So in the lower cost version, I had decided 50% was pretty good. So now 50% still sounds pretty good, but it also allows me to dial that in and decide how I want to do my frequency setup. We also have a bunch more algorithms. So as you can see in our listing here, we have Studio 3, a new one. There's our Studio 2 and Studio from the last version. We have this Retain. We have Natural 2, Natural, and EQ Restore. Now, on the Pro version, I've actually been enjoying the sound of Natural and Natural 2 because I think it sounded a little bit more like my voice, and it caused me to feel like I didn't need to go back and put in another EQ. So let's hear what this sounds like. Everybody, and welcome to my home Creator Studio. I had a lot of questions recently about how I've been doing it, my Dorico and music setup here on my desk, and just all the things I've been using to get my videos going. So I want to show you a really great, hey everybody, and welcome to my home creator studio. I had a lot of questions recently about how I've been doing it, my Dorico and music setup here on my desk, and just all the things I've been using to get my videos going. So I want to show you a really great. Now, to me, I think the natural sounds really nice and it sounds really clean and even. And I feel like if I apply this, it's going to give me the ability to EQ, compress, and make this really sound the way I want, because it's going to sound like I recorded it in a perfect environment. In Adobe, after we're done, we hit apply and it's going to go ahead and run the algorithm across our whole file. Now, this one is a little resource hungry and it definitely is not instantaneous, which is why I don't like to use it in Final Cut Pro. I will say it does work in programs like Logic Pro, Pro Tools, and Final Cut, but because it's an on-demand plugin, I definitely think that you would want to use it on the file separately, save it, and then bring it in. Now, we're met with this message from Adobe Audition saying, hey, I can't save this audio into your video. We can save it as a separate file, though. And then all I need to do is save this as a WAV file. I can bring it into Final Cut and use it as my audio instead of the camera audio and get a much cleaner sound. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this tool to be really useful. Again, it's like a noise remover, an EQ, and all of these things rolled into one, and I think it sounds and works fantastic. You can go to their website and check out all the different tools they offer, but like I said, this one tool is one that I use on almost every single video. If you're enjoying the content, please throw some comments down there and hit that like button. It's so helpful, and if you really want to check out more, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you the next time.